Most people grow up believing that money comes from work. You study, you find a job, you earn a salary. And if you want more money, the solution seems obvious. Work harder, work longer, get promoted, move to a better position. This belief feels natural, it feels responsible, and for a long time, it works. But over the years, many people begin to notice something quietly uncomfortable. Their income rises, yet their sense of freedom does not. They earn more, but they also depend more on that income. They feel pressure to maintain a lifestyle that silently requires their constant presence. Others, sometimes earning less on paper, seem calmer. They move at a different pace. They have options. They can step back without panic. The difference is not intelligence, it is not luck, and it is not effort. The difference lies in how money is used. This is where the idea of focusing on assets instead of salary begins. Not as a tactic, not as a shortcut, but as a shift in perspective. At its core, the idea is simple. A salary is money you receive because you are present. An asset is something that continues to produce value even when you are not. Most people focus on increasing their salary. Wealth-oriented thinking focuses on increasing the number of things that quietly work in the background. This is not about avoiding work. It is about understanding its limits. Time is limited. Energy is limited. Health is limited. A salary is directly tied to all three. Assets, when built patiently, slowly loosen that connection. Let's explore what this really means, step by step. The first principle is this: salary is transactional. Assets are structural. A salary is a transaction. You exchange time and effort for money. There is nothing wrong with this. For most people, it is necessary. It is often the starting point. But it remains a transaction. If the transaction stops, the income stops. Assets are different. Assets belong to a structure rather than a moment. Once they exist, they do not require your constant presence. They may need maintenance. They may need oversight. But they do not ask you to show up every day in the same way. Imagine two people with similar careers. The first person uses each raise to upgrade their lifestyle. A newer car, a better apartment, more monthly commitments. The second person keeps their lifestyle mostly stable. They direct part of their income toward building things that last: an investment portfolio, a rental unit, ownership in a small business. Both people work. Both are disciplined. But only one is slowly building structure. Here is another example. Think of someone who spends years developing a skill that can be packaged: a course, a piece of software, a service that can be delegated. At first, it requires effort, but over time, the structure begins to support itself. The key difference is this: transactional income keeps life running. Structural income reshapes how life unfolds. The second principle is this: salary increases comfort, assets increase freedom. Salary is very good at improving comfort. It pays rent. It removes immediate stress. It makes daily life smoother and more predictable. But comfort and freedom are not the same. Comfort improves the present moment. Freedom expands future choices. Assets often feel underwhelming at first. They rarely change how life looks right now. They quietly change what life allows later. Consider someone who receives a higher salary and immediately upgrades their lifestyle. A larger home, higher monthly payments, more fixed obligations. Now consider someone who earns less but keeps expenses modest. They invest the difference. They build margin. Years later, the second person can slow down, change careers, take time off. Here is another example. A freelancer earns more one year and commits to higher expenses. When work slows, stress increases. Another freelancer uses strong years to build savings and income-producing assets. When work slows, they breathe easier. Comfort makes life pleasant. Freedom makes life adaptable. Comfort feels good today. Freedom feels powerful when circumstances change. The third principle is this: salary trains dependence. Assets train leverage. When income depends entirely on a job, the mind adjusts. Decisions become cautious. Risk feels threatening. Change feels dangerous. This is not weakness, it is conditioning. Assets introduce leverage. Leverage means creating outcomes without proportional effort. It changes how choices are made. Imagine an employee who relies entirely on their paycheck. They hesitate to negotiate. They hesitate to leave a bad environment. They tolerate situations they dislike. Now imagine someone with modest but steady asset income. They are calmer in conversations. They choose opportunities more carefully. They can afford patience. Here is another real-world example. A small business owner reinvests profits into systems and people. Over time, the business functions without constant supervision. Another business owner keeps everything dependent on personal effort. The income stops the moment they step away. Both work hard. Only one builds leverage. Dependence narrows choices. Leverage widens them. The fourth principle is this: salary grows linearly. Assets compound. Salary usually grows in steps, a raise here, a promotion there. Assets grow differently. They grow slowly at first, often invisibly, then steadily, then meaningfully. This is not luck. It is the effect of time and consistency. Compounding rewards patience more than intensity. Imagine someone who invests modest amounts regularly for many years. Nothing dramatic happens early on. Now imagine someone who focuses only on earning more but spends most of it. After a decade, the first person often has more flexibility, not because they were smarter, but because they allowed time to work. Another example. A person builds a small audience by sharing thoughtful ideas over years. At first, nothing seems to happen. Eventually, opportunities appear. Trust builds. Momentum grows. Linear growth feels satisfying. Compounding growth feels subtle until it suddenly matters. Effort creates progress. Consistency creates transformation. The fifth principle is this: salary is taxed first. Assets are optimized later. This is not about avoiding responsibility. It is about understanding how systems work. Salary is usually taxed immediately, before it reaches your account. Assets, when structured legally and responsibly, often receive more favorable treatment. This difference compounds quietly. Consider an employee who saves after tax. Each contribution starts smaller. Now consider an investor whose returns can be reinvested or deferred. Over time, the gap widens. Another example. A person owns a small rental property. Expenses are deducted. Income is optimized. Another person earns the same amount through salary. Taxes reduce it immediately. Understanding systems is not manipulation. It is awareness. Financial literacy is not about gaming the system. It is about navigating it consciously. The sixth principle is this: salary keeps you busy. Assets create space. Busy does not always mean productive, and it rarely means reflective. Many people feel exhausted, not because they work too much, but because they never pause. Assets introduce space, space to think, space to adjust, space to rest. Imagine someone working continuously to maintain income. Every month feels urgent. Now imagine someone with modest asset income. They can step back, reevaluate, change direction calmly. Another example. A professional builds passive income that covers basic expenses. They still work, but they work differently. They choose better projects. They say no more often. Space improves judgment. Clarity often appears only when urgency disappears. The seventh principle is this: salary supports survival. Assets support design. Salary helps you function within a system. Assets allow you to shape your role within it. Design does not mean control. It means intention. It means choosing direction instead of reacting. Consider two people earning the same income. One reacts to expenses and opportunities as they appear. The other plans for outcomes. One feels life happening to them. The other feels engaged in shaping it. Another example. One person saves without a plan. Another saves toward specific assets and goals. Both are responsible. Only one is designing. Survival reacts. Design responds. Focusing on assets does not mean rejecting work. It means respecting its limits. It means understanding that time, energy, and health are valuable, and that money, used thoughtfully, can protect them. You do not need to rush. You do not need to be extreme. You do not need to abandon stability. You only need to start asking different questions. What am I building? What will still exist when I stop showing up tomorrow? What quietly supports my future self? Clarity rarely arrives suddenly. It grows slowly, but once it arrives, it stays. Take a moment. Slow your breathing. Wealth does not begin with more money. It begins with a different relationship to it.